and I was too late. They was birds and bees and missed it.
So that kind of gave me some satisfaction that maybe the book is touching some people.
You spent your entire career as a drill sergeant in the military. How many years?
20 years plus.
20 plus years, literally making men out of boys.
And girls. Women out of
soldiers,
girls.
rather.
Yes, soldiers, yes.
Yes. But particularly during that phase of life where they're coming to you to start to mature and start to take on tasks, what are some of the things that you notice that a lot of them are lacking that is like hindering them from going to that next level?
Most of the time they lack structure. If they're coming from a one-parent home, there's really no structure in that house. They're just willy-nilly growing up. With the young men, they lack discipline, and it was something that I had to really work on because I didn't experience that, and that these guys were just so out of control. I was like, where did y'all come from? I had one kid, he came from the mountains, and he didn't know how to brush his teeth. Right, so I'm like, what? So I had to take it to a different level with each kid that I seen, so I would teach them. But we took them from the streets and made them great soldiers, so they can go out here and defend the country. And if you look at what a soldier is today, that's something significant in their life, that they went from that to that.
Wow. So it's interesting because when, as someone who's never had any type of exposure to the military, personally, from what I see from media, it seems like a drill sergeant would not be teaching somebody how to brush their teeth, but probably kicking their teeth in. How accurate is that depiction, and why did you go out of your way to meet them where they were, to get them where they needed to go?
I guess every drill sergeant, you're rated on your ability to graduate soldiers. So if they flunk out because you didn't do something, that's on you. So I would take every measure, and I had a whole girl platoon, and they couldn't do push-ups. I said, well, they're going to fail this test at the end of this 8 weeks. So I told them, I said, y'all can't go anywhere unless you come to the stairwell and you can do 20 push-ups. If they couldn't do them, well, I started them, I think, at 10. They got to 10, then they can go, to the BX or the shop and get out. But until that time, once they got to the 20, I said, oh man, they're good now. And my girls were the only ones that all of them passed the the push-up test. The other company, platoons, they had 4 or 5 that fell off because they didn't concentrate on them. So you're measured on that, and that's why whatever their level was, I went there and taught them. So I actually conversed with them, seen what their home life was and things. So I made sure that at the end of the cycle, the 8 weeks, they were all gone. Wow. And one young lady, she looked at me and says, drill sergeant. I said, yeah, what's up? You smiling? I said, yeah, y'all going home. The whole 8 weeks, I'm that man, And once y'all leaving me, I'm smiling now. Oh, y'all going home.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so it was a good thing.
So can you define discipline? Because I feel like that's a hot button word, and in some regards it means spankings and ass whoopings, but that to me is a very teeny slither of what that word really means. What is discipline?
Right. Discipline can come in different forms, and it can be peer pressure. Your soldier friends are putting in, and I would do that. I would say, yo man, get a couple of guys, he's not doing this, man, so go over there and get him, And they would go over there and actually say, man, you ain't doing this? They'll either take him and show him, or we call it a blanket party. So they say, you're gonna get this right, And so, they finally, that peer pressure, that discipline got them in line. So, discipline comes in a lot of different forms, but our discipline was to get them up early in the morning, have them do a certain thing. We had that structure, every day. So once they follow that structure and that discipline, a couple soldiers says, drill sergeant, why don't you talk to me? I said, son, you don't want me to talk to you. Because if I'm talking to you, you're doing something wrong. So as long as I'm not talking to you, you're good. So, they learned that discipline and how to go through life, for those 8 weeks. And when you look at it with children, with my daughter, I didn't know that one time when I got angry at her, she looked at me and she was so afraid. And I looked at her, I said, whoa, why are you afraid of daddy? Because I was that man, I was that bear. So I toned it down to where I knew she would understand that I love her, instead of, just because if she see me as that bear, I'm never getting her back.
Right.
I wanted her to stay, close to me and in my life. And it took me a while, like they were saying, to have that relationship, because I found out when she was about 14 that she had a boyfriend at 11.
What?
And daddy didn't know. And I was mad. I'm saying, what? You had a boyfriend at 11?
Wait, she had a 3-year relationship with a dude?
No.
Oh, she was dating.
Yeah, she had a boyfriend at 11.
Listen.
I met the mom of the guy at her graduation. She said, she was dating my son at 11. What? That threw me off. So I knew, I had that relationship that these guys are talking about is very serious. And you definitely, as a parent, you want to make sure you can keep that relationship
Right.
with them. And my daughter turned out well. She graduated college, so I'm cool. I'm good with it.
So there's a huge conversation around this term of toxic masculinity. And like a lot of, real macho, men are out here feeling quote unquote alpha, but I feel like everyone who uses that word they would brand damaging to anything alpha. As a man who is a drill sergeant, who is a soldier, who's training people to become warriors, but you have a daughter. So how did you balance your masculinity and then become soft when it came time to have?
That was hard to learn, but in the morning when I put on, it's called a round brown, we call it a round brown drill sergeant hat. When I put that on, I was a drill sergeant. And I was the meanest person you ever want to meet when I had that hat on. But when I came home, I was dad. I was a husband. I knew when I got to my home, all that stopped, And so it was very important to try to understand that and build that in myself, that, and it might take a minute for you to understand that when I put on my uniform, I'm a soldier, point blank. I could take it off and become Tupac, hip hop, whatever. Right. But when I put on my uniform, I'm a soldier. So that discipline is something that you have to learn as a parent, that when you have a son or a daughter, there's a time to do that tough love, but then there's a time when you need to step back, and I seen the fear in my daughter's eyes, it crushed me, so I knew, I had to revamp myself.
Right.
to be this full person now that could use, all my skills and bring the person up, bring my daughter up like I would hope she would be, a loving daughter, having a loving father, like that. So it's a task being a parent, but being a drill sergeant taught me quite a few things, quite a few different things.
So you've spent 20 plus years making soldiers. Now you retired, and now you're turning your attention to molding men. Your book, Molding the Man, you have a second installment of that book. So most people who've been doing something for 20 years, when they retire, they don't want no parts of it. Why are you still so passionate about, going after people and making them their best? After
20 years in the military, 20 years at the VA hospital, and I said, I'm just going to float around the world now, just doing my own thing, until I looked around at my family and my nephews, and a couple of them were in, turmoils, mostly about girls, but they were in turmoil.
I'm not one of them, by the way.
No, he wasn't. This is the younger generation. He's the younger generation. The younger generation. And it was amazing to me to see that they would have these problems. So I'm saying, what could I do? So I realized that I'm retired, now I could take the time, and I made it my mission to try to change the fathers, build from the father for that son. And even if you're not in home, you can still be a great father. So the first book, Molding a Man, I took it from elementary school all the way through college, telling dads the different things at each level, high school, college, junior high, what you need to be talking to your son about to keep him on the straight and narrow. There's a lot of different things. When you're in the moment, you forget. But if you look at the book, you'll say, okay, because he called me one day and said, I read the book, and I forgot to talk to birds and the bees to my son, about the birds and the bees to my son. That's one of the things that he looked at, I missed that part.
And I was too late. There was birds and bees in it. Missed it.
So that kind of, gave me some satisfaction that maybe the book is touching some people. And so once I did that book, I looked at, if I'm going to be creating great dads, where is the recognition for us guys? Because on Father's Day, what do we get? A tie, underwear, socks, right? As usual, that's what they give us. Okay.
Facts.
So I said, well, I want to be appreciated. So I put together 3 clothing lines. It's my clothing brand. This here is Father Forever. I have this Father for Life, Dad Forever, and Molding a Man. And a young lady, yesterday I was at Fort Dix BX, and she came and she looked at all 3. She said, I have 3 sons, so my husband will love the Molding a Man setup. So she bought a top and shorts. And so most guys will rep their teams, baseball, basketball, whatever. Why not rep who we are as fathers? Give us some recognition that, we're great dads. And so that's why I did that. So once I did the first book, I said it's still incomplete because the young men are still not getting it. So I came up with 10 steps for a young man to become a great man. And one of the first things I talk about in the book is that you're here on earth for something great. You're not just here. You're not just here to sit around. You're here for something great. Figure out what that is. So when you look at yourself, is it going to be intellectual or physical? What about you that you want to, look at and develop and create? So that's one of the first areas that I talk to him about. And from there, I go through the different levels of things. And I got one called Manly Health Habits. Basically just cleaning your butt. Taking care of yourself as a man, and I go through all that. My last one, I do finance at one, but my last one is give me a 5-year plan, 5 to 10 year plan in your life. Go ahead on and plan it out. Let's see what it is. We'll work on it and see if we can help you reach that goal in those 5 to 10 years. And young men don't have that, So if you give them this structure, it's going to help with their growing up and everything. So then I put together the last book, which he hasn't seen yet, but it's called Code of a Man, because as men, we're all men, but what kind of code do we have? What can you really say about us that makes us men? So I came up with this acronym, SCRAW, SCRAW. S is strong, the C is courageous, the R is righteous, the A is admirable, and the W is wise. So that's the code of a man that I break down in the book. And if a man follows all those, then I think he'll be a great man today. So that's where this is, because we don't have anything out there letting us understand. And one part in the book I told him, I said, you're already in a position of strength. When you come out as a boy, you're already a man. So that's a strength right there, just being a man. You don't have to do anything more than that. Just develop yourself to be the man that you want to be, the great man that you can be. So that's what those 3 books are all about.
Awesome. Thank you.